It's that YouTube.
that Google thing popped up again, where I was worried we were gonna have to, get the password for the YouTube account.
And you may want to mute down in the lower right corner.
Oh, yeah, 'cause it looked like Bob had,
So have you got anything you want to spend your share of $46 million on?
sure. Of course, we want the new tablets. I don't know if that will qualify, and then, so, I don't know. I don't have a big bulk of my payroll, of my budget is poll worker costs.
Are you going to put in for bonuses for all of them since they worked during the pandemic
Well,
in close contact with the public?
Yeah, I thought if they get around to it, because if you think about it, the poll workers who worked here at the courthouse saw over 1,000 voters a day, approximately. And so that was really close contact, you know? And so I think it's justifiable. I would go about it a different way. Like, they did the sheriff's one based on like $25 a week, you know, and that's how they came to the dollar amount that they came to. I would think for our poll workers, because just like a one-time payment of like $100 or something, you know, of something like that, which would be $40,000, I think, like 400 poll workers, I think that would. Okay, we're live on YouTube, so I don't understand.
I mean, they can hear us too.
They can hear it. Debbie, where'd you think I needed to?
I
I
don't-
don't just hear an echo, do you?
No, it would be right there.
Take that down.
Hearing that.
Can you look and see if we're on YouTube?
We are.
Okay. Can you look? Here's the delay.
It's always like that though.
I need to title those differently so they don't say just titles.
Change the time.
Huh?
Have you some other things?
When I set up the meeting, I need to remember to actually set up a title for it, not leave it at my account. Yeah.
Yeah, and then to make it easier to find, to go back and fix something.
Tom, are you going anywhere, doing anything for Memorial Day?
I'm gonna mow my yard.
If it's not too soggy.
Yeah, I think it's not raining.
I don't think it's supposed to rain, is it, this
No,
weekend,
Usually
but,
this weekend.
yeah.
I hope not. I'm so over rain.
It takes our yard a while to dry out enough to be
Yeah.
able to mow.
But I figure it will by Sunday if the
Yeah.
rain is,
David tore up our yard yesterday with the tractor trying to get it mowed
Before it rained.
yesterday, because part of the grass was that tall.
Last night, it was interesting. Everybody, two people in the book club meeting were sitting where you could see their windows, and one of the Kate lives in, like, Jane, Missouri, so just like right across the border, and then Barb lives over towards the lake up at War Eagle. But when the lightning would strike, it would be at the same time in their windows. You could see it. So, I guess there was just so much lightning everywhere. So, yeah.
I was thankful that we had gone to Missouri on Wednesday because the area we were in was having life-threatening flash flooding.
I was thankful we decided to meet via Zoom last night for book club and not in Candace's backyard. That would not have worked out well.
No. When I do our book studies at the church, I would read them all the time. Because I don't put them until I'm done. And that's kind of my thoughts. I'm like, well, it could be worse.
Tom, do you want a budget packet?
Sure. So how many elections or how large elections are you thinking about for next year?
I'm pretty sure we'll have a countywide runoff for the primary, because right now we have 4 known people who have said they're gonna run for lieutenant governor. So I think it'll be hard for one of them to just win it outright, because I feel like all the candidates are known in different parts of the state, are more well-known in different parts of the state, so that's gonna be hard, I think, for one candidate. So I have that one plan. And then, of course, the state law changes next year that we can only have 4 elections a year, but really we'll have 6, because the 2 runoffs aren't counted as an election. So, yeah. So.
That is extra. I feel like it's all.
Yes.
So you think you'll have a runoff in the county judge race?
I don't know who's running for county judge.
I don't either. That's the issue, yeah.
So.
The incumbent is running for something else, so
Yeah.
figure.
So I don't know. So it depends on if 3 candidates sign up from one party. I don't know. I don't know that I've ever seen a ballot though with 3 county judges, like new. The only runoff we've had in a really long time was for state land commissioner. So that was several years back. So yeah.
They have had some crowded primaries for county judge in Benton County.
Okay. So, but I've not really seen it. I haven't had a ballot with, I don't know that I've had a ballot with more than, I'd have to go back and look, with more than 2 candidates on it for the primary. So, and then of course, there's a possibility we'll have 2 new state rep seats, and then maybe 1 state senate seat, so that kind of changes, different people who may run.
Well, and you've got to do redistricting too.
We'll have
right?
redistricting
The
and everything.
JPs will be tweaked a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah, but it'll still remain at 15.
Yeah.
The last time we did redistricting, it went from 13 to 15, so that changed things as well.
I mean, just off the top of my head, I'm guessing you'll still have the 3 really big districts in south part of the county. And the others will shrink in a little bit.
Probably, it's hard to, because you have to go by the census blocks.
Yeah.
But now Prairie Grove has grown significantly from previous years, so that might help that one area maybe not be so big. But I feel like the West Fork area and that area has not grown. So, yeah. And I don't know about Elkins. I don't know if Elkins is growing too, so that may help the big landmass type of district.
When I print this report, you want it summary or summary of group detail?
I want summary of group detail because you're going to read these into that.
No, I mean, your 0 for the day.
Well, no, it's not gonna be zeros.
I know,
But
that's what I
yes,
mean.
I want it with summary with group detail so we can see that there's zeros in
Okay.
that column. Yes.
Okay. Yep, that's what the air quotes are for, is zero at the beginning.
Yeah, don't zero.
No, I didn't.
But it's easy to do when you first
Oh,
log
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
That should not be the first question, and it should have, are you sure? Are you really, really sure?
It does one time, but, yes.
So you mentioned the 2022 budget is based on the continued growth of registered voters.
She stepped out.
That's what I get for reading.
How about yourself? Tired.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
You said I'm tired. Oh, I guess it's been a long week, but it's almost the weekend.
And we get 3 days,
Oh, that's right.
so that's nice.
I had a question for you.
Uh-huh.
And wandered off.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're not paying attention.
No, I was reading and didn't see she.
Oh.
You mentioned about it being based on the growth of
Oh.
registered voters. Have you got some numbers?
I don't, I know that
You
it
have to
continues
stay.
to grow, and
Trying to stay
like
out of
when
trouble.
Becky did her,
Why?
like this year is the year she
Not
like
really.
removes
We're-
voters and sends out, you know,
We're going
the
camping the
notification,
week of
and so
the
that number was like
first.
10,000.
Oh, our 40th
Which-
anniversary is on the
Oh,
20th.
congrats.
They'll get notice, but
Way to
then,
go.
so we'll remove those 10,000, but starting next year, we'll start seeing
Celebrating
more
it.
and more people register to vote,
Hi, Jim.
so.
Well, good afternoon. How are you?
And I know I
I'm
talked to
okay.
Kim said her numbers just keep
bet.
going up each month.
When each turn deserves another, right? Oh, my goodness.
I thought she was gonna call me Jughead.
Well, I mean, if the
Hey,
shoe
what-
fits. What can I say?
Well, your voice said enough.
Okay.
Oh, we've already begun
Yeah.
recording?
Yeah, I
Okay.
know. My son will watch us later, but that'll be about it.
Oh, he watches?
He just teases me. He's like, why does it say, because sometimes we'll start them early and we won't have the video, and so it'll be like 10 minutes of it just saying Jennifer Price.
Oh.
He's like, what kind of YouTube videos are you doing?
Really?
Yeah. So,
That would raise a little bit of concern among the young.
yeah.
How old is he?
He's 18.
18.
Yeah.
He is old enough to tease you hard.
Oh, yes.
Really?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, they don't know what to think of their mother.
No, and his new thing is, whenever we go somewhere, he'll say, "You're wearing that," and I'm like,
No
"What
kidding?
does that mean?" And now he knows that kind of,
Oh.
you know,
Torch you a little
yeah.
bit?
So he is.
Oh, my goodness, well,
He's
that
honoring. Let's
that
just
means
say.
he's aware in a way that you don't expect.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, in that age group, maybe they are more aware of what their
I'm
mother
gonna
is
have to
wearing.
home my child if she comes out and says you're wearing that. That's it.
And then his small, okay, and so then his small
Not
guy is, because he worked early, he worked the election. And he worked in the form court quite a bit with a lot of the ladies up there, and at first they didn't know he was my son, because he just showed up to work and everything, and then when they figured out he was my son, they were like, he's such a saint, he's such a good kid. And so now, I should never have complimented him and told him what a good job he did, because now, I'm a saint.
Yeah. Oh,
and I'm
man.
like, oh, goodness.
Just let him keep believing that. The seed of clay will show up eventually.
Sound like a pretty bright guy.
Yeah. What do they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree?
That's right.
Hello.
There he
Hello,
is.
folks. How you guys doing?
Good, welcome.
Good. I'm well, thank you.
We got a minute.
Do
We're
what?
a minute early.
Man, Tom, CDC guidelines, recommendations with the mask deal. I have mixed feelings about it, but, following the science recommendations. So, yeah, I know. It's
City of Fayetteville, though, is still in place.
yeah, the city of Fayetteville is still in place.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Well,
Oh, well.
My company policy.
yeah, no. It's good. It's a good thought. I thought about that. Does the city of Fayetteville apply to the county? Because the courthouse doesn't have one anymore, right? Yeah.
I never paid attention.
I don't either.
But quite a few, I think, like even Whole Foods has a sign posted
Yeah.
that if you've been vaccinated, you don't have to wear the mask in, and Walmart has already done away with them, so quite a few places.
I still am in those places, like businesses in Fayetteville, because they've got the city one, but in here, since it was the county, I think I don't know, doesn't apply, arguably. Yeah. It's a weird time, though, Yeah, it's a weird time with it all.
the freedom and
I didn't mind it, I really don't. I didn't, but in here, I'm vaccinated. Jim, you're vaccinated.
I'm
Jennifer.
fully inoculated.
Yeah, exactly. Are you guys? No. Are you, Tom? Yeah. Debbie, are you? No.
I was gonna do Johnson & Johnson, and then they got recalled.
Oh, yeah.
They're back. Nah,
They are back.
I'm mad at Asa.
For which portion of it?
Well, okay. I went to all the trouble to organize myself and get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Now he's offering people lottery.
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, yeah, me too.
At least I want a personal thank you note.
Well, I thought that too, yeah, round two, right?
Oh, my goodness. All right, well, enough of the blather. Let's call this meeting to order, and we will go to step one, or item one, approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Did y'all have any issues with those?
I don't, I read them.
Yeah, I was fine with them.
Okay, well, the minutes are approved as read, no changes, or as presented. I guess if you read them, they would be as read. All right, second item, 2022 budget review. Always fun.
First, you
Okay.
have the floor.
So, I prepared a budget request letter because we have submitted that in the past. I did not send that to you, I did it
Oh.
this morning. So,
Didn't realize
you
they
can
were
look it over and we can make changes to it, but pretty much I kept it the same as what we submitted in 2020. I just made edits, we were no longer asking for a raise for poll workers, and, I clarified what we asked for reimbursement for. I know that some of the JPs were not aware that we actually were able to get some of our funding back. I heard that when they did our advertising publication line items. So I clarified some of the line items that we can actually seek reimbursement for. So that is just for us to do, but we want to get into the actual dollar amount.
Okay.
There are just a few changes I made to the budget.
I guess that was highlighted.
That's what's highlighted from what I sent you previously. So if we want to just go from the top and work our way through. Salaries, this salaries, I have it broken into poll workers and then like our staff. So the top portion shows what we spent approximately for the different elections we hold each year. One of the big changes is I did add money in this budget for a runoff election for the primary. I also included, that's one of the changes, I included extra money in it. I spoke with Becky, you know, we did the early vote for the runoff election for the general for her last year, because her office was dealing with absentee ballots. She has no space in there. So I asked her what she would like us to do for a primary runoff, if she would like us to run early vote. And she said, depending, you know, on the amount of absentee ballots, she might like us to hold for us to do it. So I added the money in there just in case we need to do early vote for the county clerk's office.
Does it make sense for her to keep doing it ever? I mean, it just seems like it's if it would help her and her staff's processes in their office, you know, it would, currently have two early voting sites within the same building right now. I mean.
Well, there's no possibility of her finding expansion space.
No.
So I agree with you. I think it would be a good thing just to offer to do them all.
Well, except for the special, the small.
Oh, yeah, the small ones.
The
Yeah,
small
sure.
ones, it would make no sense for us to operate something down in the forum courtroom,
Right.
just because you're not getting that many
Take up
voters.
extra space.
Right, but for the primary and for the general, doing the runoff election in the forum court, I think just helps out the county clerk, for her office.
Yeah.
Yeah, make that an option for her and see if she thinks that's a good idea.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, go on.
And then, so, I've kept money, you know, basically I've just adjusted what we spent in 2020, because I think, you know, we'll definitely match those amounts, for each of these elections. For the general election, I've kept in there, you know, extra training, absentee canvassers. I think that even though we probably won't have 12,000 absentee ballots, there's a good possibility we might have 5,000, but we only now have 1 week to canvass those rather than 2 weeks. So, and then of course post-election staff. So I've kept what we spent in 2020 almost the same, because I think it'll be about the same amount. A general election gets about a 60% voter turnout, and in a presidential year. In a non-presidential year, we get about a 50% turnout, but our registered voter numbers, I think, will continue to grow. We have 4 new early vote sites that we didn't have in 2018, if you were to look at 2018.
We have 4 new early vote sites, and we also gave the poll workers a $1 raise. And so that would be reflected in what we would do in 2022.
So the 4 new, where it says there in the explanation, 4 new early EV sites?
That's what we did in 2020, so certainly we're gonna keep those.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to look at apples to apples, really 2022 would be more comparable to 2018. Because
Yep.
it's a governor's year. And so that, we went from basically $60,000 for one of the line items for early vote to $70,000 for early vote, and that would be reflective of us keeping those 4 new early vote sites. And those were the pop-up locations.
Yeah, those are that's what we would keep. That's not proposing 4 additional new
Not
early vote
proposing
sites.
for.
Oh, okay.
I think we should, could you revise that?
Oh,
maybe,
absolutely.
language there? Because when I see that, to me.
It sounds like it's something we're adding.
Yeah, exactly.
I can do
That was
a
my
good
thought.
observation.
Just to make it clear, we're not adding,
Yeah.
we're not proposing, this is not new funding, you
I
know?
understood that's what those were, but that's, if somebody doesn't
Yeah.
understand that, we need to clarify it.
Yeah.
And for clarification, I can break in here, is this what the county sent you?
So this is what the county sends us,
Okay.
and I fill in the numbers here, but, you know, one of the things that they asked for was a description of why we're spending the money.
Oh,
And for me, when I'm building the budget, I break it down per election, so I can go back and say, you know, this is how much
Right.
we spent, rather than just saying, you know, I'm asking for $405,000 for poll worker costs. Well, what does that include?
Right.
And so I'm showing what all that includes in comparison to what we spent in previous years.
Okay.
I hate to say this again, but on that, like the 4 new EV sites, maybe just delete that. Because if I'm looking at this,
Sure.
I'm looking at 2022, and my first, like everybody does, the eye goes to 2020, and to me, that looks like the same cost,
Sure.
right?
Oh,
68,000 and change to 70,000. I'm not sure we need to explain that right there. I totally get it that from 2018 to 2022, you're
Right.
trying to
Right.
show that, but I think if folks are looking at that, they might not even ask that question.
Yeah.
So maybe just take that off of that
Yeah.
one and then
there are
further
2
below.
places, Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And so basically then, and I've met like our cost for staffing. I just, you know, it was $282,000 in 2020. I've just bumped it to $300,000 just so that we're definitely covered in staff costs. And then, of course, training for $30,000. I think, you know, training is beneficial to our poll workers. We're required to do training before the primary, so that's every single poll worker. But it is definitely worth it to bring them back in, or a big bulk of them back in before the general. And then the 3 other highlighted ones, so Social Security matching, that one is hard for us to figure. He has a formula in there where it automatically figures off of our bulk, but like our poll workers don't pay into Social Security because they don't earn enough. And so I took, how I came up with that number was I took just our $300,000, and that's the number it gives me when I put it into his formula. So that's different than what I sent you earlier. It was like $58,000, I think, in the original one I sent you.
Yeah, I saw that in my book.
Yeah, so I've adjusted that. I took out his formula. And then, of course, we'll have several employees on APRS. We had 2 more go on APRS than I anticipated, and it was what happens if they work 3 months in a row, 80 hours a month, they automatically go on APRS. And because of COVID and because of the extra work, we had several of, like Evelyn and Joyce, who hadn't been on APRS before, qualify for APRS. And once they qualify, they're qualified every time they work. So I've adjusted that as well. And then hopefully, next year, we'll have 3 employees who qualified for the county insurance. So I've adjusted that. from the 3,000 to 17,000 to reflect, having 3 employees on county insurance. And then the other costs, basically general supplies, I've just kept it, you know, it did drop a little bit from what we spent in 2020. I took out costs that were strictly COVID, you know, like the spray bottles,
yeah.
just things that we won't have to get, but it's still a good dollar amount for us for different election supplies that we need. And then in the, on the second page, I do have in the small equipment, $25,000 in there for voting equipment. We've, you know, been able to get that each year. I think we should leave it in there because we don't know when we might have an express vote complete, you know, like if we had to replace express vote, or if we were to get the new tablets, what if we didn't order enough tablets in the first go round, you know? I hate to take it out because you don't know when we might have to replace a piece of voting equipment. So I don't know your thoughts.
I know there are some people
On
who, do budgets that don't like cushions. I kinda like a cushion.
The original reason for putting that money in there, if I recall, was because when we got the money, what year was that when we got the new?
2016.
2016. So when we got the new voting equipment from the state, Jim, it was in 2016, and they based the number of equipment we got based on the 2006 allocation of equipment to us, which was HAVA, the Help America Vote Act. Wasn't that the deal?
Mm-hmm.
So it basically, they used 10-year-old voter registration numbers to give us equipment in 2016. So we were behind initially on the amount of equipment that we thought we needed. And so for that reason, we said, fine, you know, we want the new voting equipment, we'll take it. And, you know, we will try to catch up, like, slowly, you know, year by year, rather than asking for a big lump sum to try to get us where we thought we needed to be based on the voter registration numbers in 2006. So I think we included that 25 grand for that reason initially, right? To try to buy additional equipment to get up to where.
We used it in 2018,
We used
correct?
it in 2018, we didn't use it in 2000, and we used it in 2019. We did not use it in 2020 because it went to COVID.
That's right.
Everything
changed.
Yeah, and so it went to COVID, so we didn't get 5 more express votes that we would have purchased in 2020.
So what's the need at this point if we wanted to?
Did we catch up? Have we caught up?
So I feel that,
Yeah.
I feel that going through,
That's the question.
the general election last year, we had a sufficient number of machines.
Okay.
And so I felt good about the number that we were able to send out to the polling locations. And one of the things that helped us, and this is why early voting is so important, our polling locations in Fayetteville and Springdale were slow. They had plenty of equipment because we do so many early vote numbers, and that's key. So I felt like the number of machines definitely were sufficient for that.
So that's what changed then, right? So we
That's what changed.
that was the metric, I guess, that changed. Because we had that voting equipment, you know, in 2016, we got the allocation based on the 2006 numbers, and we thought we needed more equipment at that time. But then we pushed early votes so heavily, and we opened additional locations that we put a big chunk of our election day on early vote to spread it out
And it
more.
was able to dilute some of the needs in certain places.
So-
That's what it was, yeah.
If I may
Yeah.
ask, the money that's approved on this budget, is it money that we're free to spend, or do you have to go back in and get approval to spend it when you spend it?
No, it is, once it's allocated to us, it's free for us to spend.
Okay.
But if we weren't
There are
gonna
different
spend
ways
it,
that people handle budgets.
Yes.
if we don't spend it on new voting equipment, do we have to go back then? No?
No, because it's just in this line item.
Oh, yeah,
So if
okay.
we had another expense that came up, we could spend that money on another expense that came up. And that's essentially what we did in 2020 with all the added costs for COVID. We spent what we would have spent on voting equipment on COVID costs.
And we didn't have to ask permission to do that.
No,
Okay, gotcha. I was thinking that was a line item, but it's not.
no, it's not. It's just all part of small
Yeah.
equipment.
Okay.
So
Is
when.
there another mechanism if you have an emergency situation or a need that you didn't anticipate? Is there another mechanism to get additional money?
We would have to go to the quorum court, just like we did for the advertising and budget. We would have to come to the quorum court and ask for that money.
So if the quorum court is a mind to, they can allow us to have this a certain amount of money that we can use if it's needed. They trust us with that, and I think that's good if they will.
And I don't think this is necessarily a cushion. This is more allocated to trying to spend
Yeah.
money on voting, on small equipment, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's what,
Yeah.
and I guess it's for, tell me if I'm wrong, but to replace equipment that breaks. I mean, more or less, and or that we deem needed based on our location needs.
Yeah. One of the things we wanted to look at is, I
guess if
felt
nothing
like
breaks.
we had enough equipment, but what we found at some of the locations, when we added that extra express vote for the supervisor to handle provisional ballots,
Mm-hmm.
that was definitely a bonus at those locations. So, it would be nice if we had enough equipment to allocate that, additional one. And so this gets us about 5 to 6 new express votes. So, if we thought we needed it, we could get those express votes so that they could have a machine for provisional ballots, basically.
I think, I like that there's an explanation of why this could be needed. Because I'm not sure, but I think it's almost a sure thing that we're gonna be dealing with more votes in the future, more than just the normal vote.
Yeah.
After recent elections, and so I think if that becomes a reality, we see that coming, we can cover that need, and that's it. I think I just was thinking out loud.
No, yeah, I think we all are, we're just talking through it.
Yeah,
So tell me more about that, like how, because I remember this from our last election, and clearly that's the purpose that you had identified for this, before you'd been thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
What is the extra express vote for the provisional ballots? Explain that all to me
Okay,
again.
so when the voter casts a provisional ballot, they still have voted on the express vote, which means that the supervisor or another poll worker has to basically go with that poll worker to that express vote,
Mm-hmm.
where they're set up, in away from, like, here's my table as supervisor. And so the voter who's
People are
voting on
coming to you.
provisional. Exactly, and I've got a long line for address changes, provisional ballots, all of that. So the provisional ballot voter has to leave my table, go to where the express votes are, which are in another area of the
Mhm.
polling location, vote their ballot, and then you have to send a poll worker with them so that they don't just take their ballot, put it in the ballot box, and leave. It has to come back to the supervisor. So when you can set up an express vote right next to the supervisor,
Yeah,
then that means,
Dedicated.
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
means they
exactly.
fill out their paperwork, they sit there, they vote their ballot, then they put it in the envelope, and they don't ever leave sight of the supervisor.
I think
It
When
works.
they leave, they're finished.
Exactly. It worked wonderful at Central, it worked great. We did it during early vote. And so at sites where you have really large sites, it would be really nice to have.
And I think we're apt to have more large sites.
I agree. I think it's a terrific idea, especially considering some of the legislation that passed this last session.
Yeah.
Because we already had hundreds of provisional ballots in November. We had hundreds. We had
Almost 900.
900, and so now you're talking about, those were the provisional ballots we had.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna have that many more, I mean, quite a few more than that, because of some of the changes with the voter ID law, taking away the optional identity verification, I mean, some of those things, we're gonna have probably a fairly significant increase in provisional ballots cast even from that 900, so that seems like a great idea and a good use of resources.
How many sites do you think you would want to put the machine, the express vote with the supervisor at?
You would need it at Civic Center, Trinity Fellowship, Sequoia, Methodist, Mount Comfort, and Elmdale, and Same, yeah. Those are our
At least 6 sites.
At least 6 sites. Smaller sites are able to handle it a little bit better, in our, like Cane Hill and Morrow and those places, you can see the whole room, basically. But in the big sites, it definitely would be very helpful for us to be able to do. I mean, and I didn't include Central because we were able to do one for Central. In 2020.
So you might end up actually having as many as 10 sites where this would be very helpful.
Yes.
Okay. So that's worth considering.
Is this a sufficient amount of money to do that?
Mm-hmm.
So it would give us at least, I think it will give us 6 machines, and I think we would have enough machines, based on allocating the machines from our turnout, at the locations to be able to do that. So that would mean I would just have to come up with 4 out of what we currently have, and I think we can do that.
Does the quorum court get this?
No, this is ours. We give them this,
that.
but I still will need to go through and put some explanations, but really, this is for us. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't you give them something like this, though?
I do give them something like this, and I mean, it looks like this, but we can give them this, and I can put the explanation of why the voting equipment's there. They can see we've asked for this money in previous years, so it's not a new, it's not a new request, basically. It's been in our budget, it's even in our budget for this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it seems that, like, the explanations are probably the most useful for the things that are changing this year, like that $50,000 there for the primary runoff, that's a potential cost. That's the reason for the difference from 2020 to 2022 on there. Like, that deserves an explanation, that's the first thing I would see, but, it seems like not everything does if it's not an increase.
No.
I don't know, whatever they want, but to me, yeah.
And I can remove and I can explain why on that one. I mean, obviously, I'll remove the question mark.
That's what I was concerned about, was the question mark. That's where it moves into cushion, and it's like,
I can put the explanation for the needs for provisional voters, or provisional.
Yeah, that's it. Then it's not hard to explain that you're basically improving the functionality, making it more efficient to move people through, and also there's some security to it because you're not going to lose control of where that ballot is.
Exactly, yes. And that's huge, I think.
Yeah.
It is, because every year we have at least 1 or 2 provisionals,
that accidentally get into the DS200 and the supervisor writes us a note
Yeah.
saying that, and this helps prevent that.
Yeah, I
So,
was hesitant to make that argument, but I thought it too.
But-
Yeah, I mean,
But it is.
Yeah, but no, I agree, yeah, it does, it makes sure that nobody's casting a ballot who is not eligible to cast a ballot, yeah.
Okay. We've got one more highlighted place. Have you guys got any questions on what we've gone through so far?
Good.
So,
Publication.
but, yeah, publications, the increase in that includes, an increase for our countywide runoff, basically, for the notice of election for that. I need to write runoff on that. So, yeah, so that's reflective of there. One I didn't have highlighted, I probably should have, is above that, the other professional services, the $1,900. I need to put an explanation there. That would be for the shredded cost
Okay.
and translation for voting materials.
So what's the shredded 1,500 number above that?
That's it, so the $1,900 is the two of those together. Shredded will
Oh,
be
okay.
about 15,
Okay.
yeah, shredded will be about $1,500.
Gold.
Yeah, and then 400, for translation of the voting materials. There's, someone that does translation for the sheriff's office, and it's about $25 an hour. I don't think it'll, I don't think it will be that many hours of translation for him, because our forms are pretty basic. And then shredded, I talked to, actually shredded, and there's, it was about $17 a box for us to do it, so.
I saw one of their trucks just a little while ago.
Yeah. And that was, I talked to, the comptroller to see who they use.
Oh, good.
And so she sent me from some different people, so.
Okay.
Let's see.
Did we get a notification on, what was it, how much ES&S was gonna charge us for the software update?
So,
Does that go in here somewhere?
It's not, so the SOS's office is still working on that. And hopefully the state will pick that cost up, but we do have that in our budget this year. If it is $64 a machine, we have enough money in our budget this year to pay for the software update, if the state doesn't pick it up. But I have been having conversations with Leslie down at the Secretary of State's office. She asked me, what new voting equipment we needed, and I told her Express Notes, the new poll books, and of course, then to pay for the software
Yes.
update. So we'll see if the state has extra funding. I know that she had a meeting with them last Friday. She's on vacation this week, so she hasn't gotten back to me, but, I will keep asking for that. But we have that money in this year's budget, actually.
Okay, now is that gonna be done before the end of the year then?
Yes, once the state finally gets back to us about the software update that they're going to pay for or not going to pay for it, if they don't pay for it, I'll ask the commission if we want to go ahead and authorize, that money to be spent to do the software update. Because I would like to get it done, because it also will require us to purchase 2 new computers. And we'll have to do a training session on it. So it would be really nice to do that before the end of this year.
Oh, yeah. Okay, what else?
Let's see. I do have money for us to go to Little Rock that we didn't spend in 2018 or 2020. I know that one of the new laws requires the coordinators to attend training, and Daniel is not gonna do regional training. He wants us to come to Little Rock.
And I don't know what they'll do for the commissioners either on training, if they're gonna do webinars again or regional training, or if they'll require you to go to Little Rock.
Okay.
He wasn't 100% sure.
Strong preference for virtual training.
Yeah.
Strong preference.
So, he
We've
wasn't
done it,
sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
years and,
Yeah.
yeah.
He wasn't sure on that. He did think he would do the, commissioners training, hopefully by the end of this year, but the train the trainer and the coordinator training won't be until next year.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay. Well, there's a whole lot of things we don't really have ironed out yet.
yeah, there's a lot. That is one problem with our budget, is that it's so unknown.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know
Sure.
how many elections you're gonna have, you don't know,
If you're gonna have runoff,
you're gonna
Yeah.
have runoffs, how big your runoff will be.
if you're gonna have COVID.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ours is not, you know, I mean, ours is not, I have 5 employees who work 40
Yeah.
hours a week, you know,
Yeah.
for the year.
Yeah,
Ours
right.
is just, really our best guess based on previous years.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it is 1:00. Did you hear from anybody?
I did not, I did send, her a letter, she did fill out a voter registration card, so we do have her registered now, but I did not hear back from her, no.
Okay, well, we'll just plow through this some more until if and when somebody shows up at the door. We can go to that if that happens. Are we ready to adopt this, or to, we talked about June the 8th having another budget discussion. Where are we? Are we ready to move forward? Are you comfortable with it?
I'm
Yeah.
good with it.
Good to me. I was really pleased to see that ACECA not be part of our budget anymore. I just,
Wait, which one, what was that?
the Little Rock organization,
Oh, yeah.
you know, because we were paying $200 a year for that.
Oh, I
sucker,
remember that.
And, you know,
What was it?
oh, it's on page 3.
Oh, I know.
2014, it's under 3090. Dues and membership.
That was when we actually had an association for election commissioners.
Wasn't somebody talking, oh yeah, funny, good catch, Renee, I missed that. Wasn't somebody talking about bringing it back?
Yeah.
Oh, they were? Who?
Wasn't that?
I don't know.
Am I
if they
making
have
that up?
talked about- No, they haven't
We
talked
talked
about that, so yeah.
I don't know who.
What it will look like, I don't know if they do, if they'll kind of stick with the regional meetings.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There needs to be something that these legislators can talk to about how things really happen.
Yeah, but they didn't really talk to the associate, or at least not to the individual commissioners or commissions. I think that was squeaky wheel stuff, where if you were on a commission and you wanted to be a squeaky wheel, you talked to your legislators, but they didn't speak to
They didn't talk to this
commissions out.
organization.
No, now they came to our regional meetings,
Who did?
huh?
Wait, who did?
Legislators.
Legislators, we, several times we
They
had,
invited or?
There were only a couple, whoever came.
well, yeah, but
We invited them all for a while, but it was,
responsive of this, in this area, they were responsive to
yeah.
the meetings.
Yeah, that's true, in our area, yeah,
Yeah,
the
in
folks
our
who
area.
were, yeah.
I'm not sure it's not a good idea, if it's done differently, because what I found out this year, and our trip down there, and discussions I had with the legislators, is that they truly thought they had done everything that they needed to do by talking to the, state.
The Little Rock.
Mhm.
People in Little Rock,
Mhm.
and by talking to the, what is it, the State Election Commission, and by talking to the, county,
The Pulaski County.
clerks.
The County Clerks Association.
Oh, yeah.
And
Mhm.
they, I was told, well, you guys need you need somebody we can talk to. I said, well, we had somebody. He said, well, I know, but, you don't need more. And we thought we had done it. We thought we had covered everything, but they didn't talk to anybody that knows the process, like people in these organizations
Yeah.
know the process.
Well,
And where they made mistakes was 80% process related, creating roadblocks in the process.
But
Mhm.
we've sought their, well, we've tried to ask them to get counsel from local or from county commissions in the past, and you always disseminate information on all of the legislative bills to, almost every county, certainly every county in our
All over this
region.
area, yeah.
And, I mean, that doesn't go to legislators, but it certainly, equips commissions and, directors to talk about this with their local legislators.
The process that ideally should be followed by legislators is that election subcommittee that was created.
And
In the off years, bills should be talked about and discussed and proposed and vetted and,
Yeah.
sort of going through that process where people can have a long.
I don't disagree with that, but what if
Did they meet
what if
once?
the only place they think that they need to vet it is with the state
SBC.
election commission?
It's a problem
Yeah,
for us
that's-
because
So, does that mean that there needs to be this organization and they need to know that? Or does that mean that we need to have at least the, regional organization and we need to keep tapping on their door all the time and make sure they know we're here? Or what does it mean? It looks like something, and I think there needs to be some effort made in that direction. And it may not look like what it looked like before.
Is the Southeast organization still going?
They're not as strong, so our region was the strongest.
Right.
They were really hard, it was really hard to get, the southeast and even the northeast
Oh, yeah.
region going as well. But I think that if we can keep our region strong and if we
Right.
can, and if we can, you can almost do it as a statewide one by just letting the other counties benefit from the strengths in this area, basically. I mean,
Invite
because,
them to participate, but not necessarily, if they don't, they're still going to get,
Well, I mean, we've got Zoom now. We could Zoom it out to the whole state rather than just
Sure.
the, people in our region.
sure.
Mhm.
I think it's something we need to look at.
But I think part of that is that there are legislators who are not in our region who, introduced legislation based on what they had been told from Pulaski, and it was
There's no doubt.
Yeah,
There is
definitely.
no
Disastrous.
doubt.
Definitely.
There is no doubt,
Yeah.
and
Didn't care.
that's the other 20%. They
Yeah.
were big, like the one that we got defeated.
Right, right.
And there's no doubt that that's the case.
Yeah.
But what I saw, and you correct me if I'm wrong, what I saw was that most of what they messed up on, if they did mess up, was, small process issues. And that's where, Jennifer got, chewed out practically.
Oh, yeah,
Was
yeah.
because, and you know what, it was when she got to the point of a stamp is not necessary, and it will smear on that paper.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a little thing, but guess what? She stamped these things, Days later, you rub your hand across it, it's still smeared.
Yeah,
Right.
She knew it,
yeah,
but they didn't wanna hear it.
yeah.
Well,
Because they
and,
had already vetted everything.
yeah, well, and that wasn't even the reason you were down there.
Right, I mean, but I do think if we had a group that they could come to, and it wasn't just run by one county, that was the problem, is you had some things coming from one county that had problems.
They were internal problems.
Right,
Yeah.
and not representative of other counties. And then you also had, some of the legislation was because people had an issue in that, it's always the case, though. You have an issue in
Yes.
one county, and then you
Yep.
try and fix it,
For the whole
messes it
state.
up.
Messes
for
it
the
up
whole
for
county.
everybody,
Yeah.
including us who rely on early voting so heavily, like we just talked about, to
Yeah.
make sure, we get folks through.
We could do better than what that.
Well, maybe what that calls
And we
for
can help.
then
Yeah,
is our
I
group.
I agree. I don't know what it looks like, but I agree with more
Well-
outreach, interaction.
I think part of it, what hurt us is because of COVID.
Right, that's.
Because in 2018, we actually presented legislation that was passed in 2019, that we had a packet for them. We met with the
That's
state
right.
board, we had 5 or 6 bills that we presented, and we found, and had sponsors, and the state board was behind, and we didn't have that
Yeah.
this year. But because Pulaski County is where everybody was at, and they were leading, the charge, basically, instead of our region getting bills passed that were productive bills, and that were cleanup bills, and, making the process easier, they led, and that's where.
Well, they certainly, took the lead on that to the point that everybody else's voices were drowned out.
Yeah.
That's my
We,
understanding.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
that's where
agree.
we need to start, Jennifer, is to resurrect the Northwest group and maybe gather data in the next year, or so on, next, 2 years, whatever, gather data on where issues have been created by some of the new legislation, and come
That
back.
happens every year.
Well, and come back to them
Yeah.
with proof, or descriptions of the issues that occurred and how widespread.
Yeah.
And I think that's a reasonable way for us to operate and function and help the legislature do a better job.
And we
Yeah, I
have
agree.
tried. We have,
Mhm.
Sure.
And I agree that it seems like it starts with us keeping the Northwest Arkansas group going, and us
right.
individually having our connections with legislators, and with all the other folks in our counties, developing better connections with their legislators. So at least we have, starts there and then expands. So then at least, there's a relationship between the folks in our group and their legislators, and that's a decent chunk of the state, and will be even a bigger chunk of the state once they do redistricting,
Oh,
right?
good point, yeah.
And, it's easy for us to say this and keep piling work on this legislature.
She loves it. She loves it. That kind of, goes into our, you said that August the 1st was not gonna work at the sheriff.
Yeah.
We were talking August the 4th, is that what you?
The whole,
Okay, the whole
like,
week.
I sent him
Okay.
several, and it has, I think, once things have started kind of loosening up, he was like, it's booking up like crazy.
Oh, is that
So
right?
August the 21st
Ah.
is what he had for us.
What about that July 21st?
He still has that reserved for us,
Oh, okay.
but I know that Max, you had
Is that
an
it?
issue.
Yeah, I'll be
that
gone,
day.
but if you guys wanna move forward, that's okay, go for it. It's not a big deal.
Well, we don't really want you not to be there, but.
Well, I appreciate it, but up to
mean,
you guys,
think that-
I'm good either way.
I
Can you
think
zoom?
that,
I wish.
Jim
I'll be
is
on the river.
right, that we need, because this will be the first meeting we've had this year.
Right.
Yeah.
And, see, that's one of the other issues that we run into, is that the regional, conflicts oftentimes. We tried to have it quarterly. Did we actually move to 3 times a year?
It ended up being 3 times a year.
And the problem is that we've got elections that people are involved in that have to be slotted in there and so forth.
Were there always attempted to be in-person meetings?
Then it was, because
Yeah.
Zoom wasn't a
We
thing
didn't
really.
If we can do Zoom, will it loosen that up any and make it more available?
Yeah, because I know that, Madison County would prefer to meet by Zoom. And, I haven't talked to the commissioners for Pulaski County, but their interim coordinator wanted to do something by Zoom. And so.
Would Zooming also potentially lighten the load or lessen the number of people that had to gather in a single room?
Yeah. But and also it might, open our reach a little bit further. But, I know this is, I have this issue, is I don't wanna go to Little Rock every other week for some crazy
I'm
meeting.
with you on that.
And,
Sure.
and the idea of having a regional meeting that maybe other parts of the state could participate in would certainly, be a time for them to air things and maybe establish a working relationship with Pulaski County and tell them, next time, just ask.
Yeah.
Just,
Susan Inman is the new commissioner
Oh, okay.
for, on Pulaski County.
Okay.
She's replacing the Democratic, person. So, and of course, she originally did.
Yeah, she was the
all the
original.
stuff.
With Stu, is he
Yeah,
still around?
Where's Stu? Yeah.
Is he still there? He is.
Wait a minute.
He's Jefferson.
Okay, but
Yeah.
he's no longer on the SBPC.
No,
Okay, yeah.
no, he's
Okay.
not, no.
Yeah, the only hesitation with the Zoom, we're just gonna have to, I think it's good, I'm 100% for it. It'll have to be a well-moderated meeting.
Yeah.
Because, when you get that many people
Oh, yeah.
in a Zoom room, if you have unlimited control that anybody can talk at
Right.
any time, it can get out of hand
That's
you've
true.
got- I mean, you've
real
got-
quick.
Yeah.
Some of our in-person meetings are like that. So it's, that's been my,
Folks, yeah.
perhaps great,
Yeah.
one of the challenges with this regional meeting at all, even in person, is
That's true, because when you've
people.
got just 50 people or 40 people, is that how many we've had on some of these?
Yeah, we've had up to 60.
Yeah.
Have we?
I could see it if it's just open all the time on Zoom,
Yeah.
being even worse than the
You can't do
in-person.
that.
That's true, yeah.
There are no internet-type meeting venues where you can do that with that many people. You've got to
No.
have everybody muted and.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And,
Structure.
have it. You gotta have somebody that's presenting, and you gotta have 1 or 2 people that are checking the incoming questions.
Yep, exactly.
And plugging them in and combining where they can be combined and so forth.
Well,
That's
even in
exactly
our-
right, that's exactly how you have
Even
to
in
do it.
our regional meetings, sometimes we have encountered, side conversations all through the meeting room, and it can get really distracting.
Yeah.
All right, well,
Crack the whip.
Yeah.
I hate to do it on the 21st without you.
All good either way,
The
doesn't matter, if you
24th.
guys wanna just do it, that's fine with me, it's not a big
We
deal.
may
I've
only
kept
get
up
one
with-
meeting this year.
Yeah, it's possible. Well, I'll catch up afterwards. I'll see the list of topics and all that. I kept up with the legislation, so
Are we
none of it's a big
posting
surprise.
those so you can watch them later? All of our sessions are all on. So you could even
Yeah, there you
watch
go.
them later.
Yep, that would work. That's
Okay.
fine. I can do that.
Shall we go ahead and do the 21st then, since she's already got the room?
Yeah, do it. That's fine
All
with
right.
me.
Let's go ahead and make that the,
Let me look.
oh, there we go. And we usually start at 10
Don't do that.
and, get lunch and end about 2, isn't that right?
Yeah.
July the 21.
Now, I know Daniel and them can come
Oh, yeah,
on the
good.
21st.
Okay.
And then we could do one, then we could set our next one in September,
Oh,
because then we can focus on redistricting and working out the parameters, you know,
yeah.
because I guarantee you, there's not that many commissioners that have done
That have
redistricting
ever been
before.
involved in it, yeah.
Were you involved in it somehow?
No, I was
No.
not, but Jennifer was.
Yeah, I knew you were.
Right, and
There
I,
may be no commissioners.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what I think too.
Sue probably is.
And so I think, you know, if we try and do one in July and then set one for September,
That's an excellent
I think-
idea.
to kind of focus on redistricting,
with it at the regional meeting?
Yeah.
I think would be good.
Do you wanna,
It-
We wanna try to
look at
schedule
a date right now?
Before we do that, what's the location that we do?
The sheriff's annex.
What would we do for that one? Would we have like Northwest Regional Planning come and
We
talk?
could, because they
About
may,
like, yeah, cause they're the ones who would take the first shot at the drafts for us, right? And work in this space and,
Will we decide, times later?
10 o'clock normally is what time we start. That gives everyone who is traveling, they don't have to get up so early to be there. If we were to do one in September, it would either need to be, it would either need to be like September the 8th or September the 22nd, just because the 14th would be an election day.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
I always try, I
okay,
don't
yeah.
ever wanna to do one, on election day, you know, the week of an election.
I would say schedule it the 22nd. I'm still concerned how quickly we're gonna get stuff.
I don't think we're gonna get stuff that quickly.
but that would be okay if you're talking about, so maybe it's a
Yes,
planning process for folks,
Yeah.
huh?
but the later, I don't know.
Yeah, like when or after that are folks gonna get it?
Because it'll be good for Jeff to come and talk about the importance of, the census blocks, and then making sure that you are keeping communities together.
Oh, right.
Like
Yeah.
when you're drawing your JP lines, you know, that you don't split up cities, you know, and just different things like that, you know, I think would be helpful for probably a lot of commissions.
Sure.
Are there planning, regional planning groups in other parts of the state?
I don't know, and I don't know, I'll talk to
Good
Jeff
question. How
and
far
see-
do they go?
and see how many counties he helped. Now, some of the counties have their own GIS person.
Oh,
So like, for
okay.
instance, Benton County
Yeah.
in their county clerk's office has their own
Yeah.
person that does it.
So they won't use regional planning to take the,
I don't know, there's
This
always
is it?
back and forth
Oh.
on that. So, because it's the commission
sure,
who
Oh,
is in
yeah.
charge of it, not the clerk.
uh-huh.
I'm not sure what they're gonna do exactly on that, so.
I mean, yeah, okay.
But I know that Jeff would be, I'll talk to Jeff, about it, because it's also the school districts. The commissions will definitely need to be getting with the school districts to make sure that they're not having to rezone their school districts. And
Uh-huh.
that information, you know, with the school district being on the May ballot,
Oh, yeah.
is just as important as your JPs. So
Mhm.
there's quite a bit of stuff that can go in that. I think that would be a good.
Oh, I think
the
that would be
commissioners
a
would really
I agree.
appreciate.
fantastic
I agree.
meeting, especially for folks in other counties
Yeah.
who may not have regional planning, who could ask questions and heck, I don't know to what degree they'd be willing to assist
Yeah.
or what their, you know, mission is, you know, in regard to all that for other counties, but seems great. Seems like it would be helpful.
And I'll go ahead and reserve.
Yeah.
What are we
Yeah, do
reserving
it now.
September the 22nd.
Okay, we're kind of running on everything out of order, but, let's go back to, are we finished with the budget review? We probably need a motion on that. if y'all are satisfied with it,
For what?
for the budget.
Oh, yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the budget
I'll
as
second.
All
presented.
right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, the budget passes as you presented it, and, I don't think we'll have to meet on the 8th of June unless you have any changes.
Well, we will have to meet, on at least one day that week, because I'll have a I'll have
Oh,
a
yeah.
LNA and poll worker notice to sign.
Okay.
So I can show you the changes I've made and if there's any tweaks
Okay, because you give that to the county on the
on the
11th.
11th.
Okay, so let's do, the, provisional ballot hearing, since it appears this person did not want to show up.
So this was the ballot that was cast, for provisional. She said she had transferred her voter registration from one county to another. The county clerk's office looked, they didn't find anything, but she did fill out a voter registration card, so she now is registered to vote in Washington County.
So that one's not counted.
That one's not countable. We do have 11 that we need to run through and
okay.
count, and so we'll go
Yeah.
ahead and do that.
Okay.
And then we'll get the certifications prepared.
Okay.
I will tell you, I did get a phone call from the 2 absentee ballots that we rejected for the incomplete voter statement and the signature not matching. Having this
Yeah.
was really nice when they called and she had questions about it, because I didn't have to go back and look through the actual absentee ballots. I actually had everything and I could look at it while I spoke with her on the phone, rather than just having a list of, well, yours didn't match because it was an incomplete voter statement. I actually was able to look at it while I was talking to her and explain it. So I think this going forward will be really nice,
Yeah.
for us when we're talking to voters.
Especially when you have 50 of them or something. Good. So she's satisfied with what?
She was, I explained to her, and it's the signatures, she felt she had power of attorney for her husband, and so she signed, one thing, and she thought that's what power of attorney meant, that you could sign.
Yeah, sure.
And we run into that
In the past.
every election.
Our attorney's usually pretty specific for a document.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, you're the
Yeah, I know, you know.
learned attorney.
Ah, you probably know as much about that as I do.
Just because I'm an old guy?
Oh, yeah. Practical knowledge,
I did prepare, because starting in August, we'll have to do this. So this is that provisional ballot report for the commission to sign that shows how many provisionals we had, where they were voted, if it was earlier election day, how many we counted, how many rejected, for the commission to sign, and I'll submit that to the state board.
Okay. You're getting jumped on her.
Yeah, one thing, because as the state board will have to come up with forms, and if I can kind of nudge them, like,
Excellent.
yeah, here's a form.
Yeah, good.
So,
Good.
and kind of let them see. I know Daniel had talked about this form in
Yeah.
particular, because that law was very specific on
Right.
the information that it wanted, so, and we voted the provisionals that were, in the poll book, out of the poll book this year, or this election, and that worked really well too, because there's actually a report that ran from the poll book from Central Point that shows, which polling site they voted at and, what the reason was. And we were able to match that with the actual provisional ballots that we had.
Cool.
So it was, I think this is definitely, good for us to go forward and
Good,
doing them
yeah.
out of the poll book.
Get used to doing it, because that's what the future holds.
Yeah.
And get a jump on SBDC so that they know how to use our form.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They will be coming up with a standard form for, the voter statements. I know that one,
Yeah.
will be one that will be standard. This one didn't specify that it has to be standard across the state. So, we'll have some leeway in it.
I'll send them what you want for the others, you know?
Yeah. Just have a little suggestion here.
Yeah.
Okay, while you guys look at that, are we ready to certify?
We'll have to, I need to get this report and just
Okay.
dump it in a document in my office, and then I will be right back with the notice, or with that.
Jennifer, let me go ahead and pull the ballots out of the thing instead of it all.
Yeah.
While you're doing that, I'm gonna.
No problem. No problem. This is the kind of meeting where you can do that.
And the poll workers, they were very receptive to using the poll book to issue the provisional ballot. They liked it because it printed the barcode on there, and I think it's gonna be important, especially when the voter ID law changes. Because my fear is a voter will come in, not show their ID during early vote, and then get told that they have to come back to the county clerk's office to show ID, and then just try and go to a polling location on election day and vote, and we wouldn't have them marked as having voted provisional unless we could do this process of voting them out in the poll book. Yeah.
Way to avoid that.
No, now there is. With doing it this way, there will be.
Wow.
No. And then I'll just need the PDF. There's, and I did get that, polling place result or report to, Elizabeth and to.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I just dismissed that. I knew you'd take care of
Yep,
it.
I got all of that handled.
Thank you.
So these
I know
are
they
the
appreciate it.
Results,
Thank you.
and we just created basically,
Oh, thanks.
another column for the provisional.
Oh, okay.
So it's that last column.
What is PED?
Post-election
Oh.
day, yeah.
Okay. Oh,
The D form.
all right, that makes sense. Wake up over there.
Oh, man.
I know, I came in and I thought, I am so tired this afternoon.
Yeah.
End of a week.
And go ahead and give a report of what you're
That's
doing.
what it is.
I will be right back with the certification.
Okey doke, thank you. All right, we are official, except we haven't signed the paperwork.
What we got here?
This is official results after these provisionals have been added.
So there were 6,184 total ballots cast, 4.32% vote turnout.
Max, did Jennifer tell you what happened in that Lincoln race where the guy didn't get a vote?
No, what ended up happening? No.
I'm gonna try to remember the details. She said he did go in and vote.
Oh, no, it's what we suspected.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I believe she said, Lacey, do you remember this? He didn't see his name on the ballot that he received. That's what he said
Oh, no.
afterwards.
That's what he said.
No, I don't remember.
Okay.
Oh.
Check with Jennifer and ask her, when she comes back, maybe she can
Oh.
shed light on it, but it was,
Oh, no.
but since,
And
that was the thing, she told me since there were only 3 ballots,
Yeah.
or whatever, was it 3?
One ballot.
Well, there were 3 ballots that were, cast at one polling location.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And she was able to, separate that this one was for a different zone,
Oh,
I
I
think.
see.
And so it was set up in a way that there was no question.
There's no question he got the ballot with his name on it.
Yeah,
He just,
it's bizarre, but I don't know.
oh, man. Who knows what happened with him in the screen, you know, and.
Oh, and that's the deal. They, there were 3 of them that voted for the millage. There were 3 total. And so, she was able to determine in those that one of them was for the Zone 5.
Oh, I see.
And so, you have to presume that he voted for the tax and just didn't see his name.
That's what it was. You're right, because he had, yeah. Oh, man, that's sad.
It's never foolproof.
No. No. And that no one else came in
I know.
and voted. No one.
That's what's amazing about it.
Even people who were running the election, you know.
Oh, that's a good point, yeah. Why
If I
didn't
was-
somebody?
So why didn't he say to somebody, where's my name on
Well, exactly. That's what I thought too.
it?
Apparently, he
Yeah,
just
exactly.
pushed the button past it and went on to the millage.
That's
and
exactly what happened.
That's
You're
what
right.
happened.
That's exactly what
So-
happened. Skip through, through too fast.
So.
It even prompts
unfortunate.
you when you do that, you know,
I
like
know.
when you don't vote in one, it flashes on the next screen.
Right, and you would think if
And it
you.
stops you at the end.
That's
so
what I
are
mean.
you sure?
Exactly.
Yeah, it stops you at when you change
Yep.
to the next screen, it'll ask you if you wanna go back because you didn't vote. And then
Exactly.
it will
Right.
prompt you again at the end, because there's an X
Yep.
That's right.
where you did not vote for that candidate.
And then once you've gone through all that, you get through, you could have
Look
a
at your
second
ballot.
thought and say, wait a minute, let me go here and talk to the supervisor.
Yes, because
Yeah.
if you
Have it
read
in
your
your
ballot,
hand.
you need to look at your ballot.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And the person who's running the machine usually says, check your ballot selection
Right.
before you put it in the DS.
Especially when you're the only one there.
Maybe he didn't need that position.
Something
terrible.
strange.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, I'll run for it. Yeah, just- You don't really want to do it?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
There are my name's on the ballot, but who would want to vote for me? Oh,
Oh,
my.
My
man.
wife's gonna kill me if I didn't vote for myself.
Yeah.
Well, too bad.
Yeah, too bad.
Well, and if there had been some other people that voted in that, it would have maybe
Yeah.
Sure.
resolved it, but,
There's not a lot of people that come out for these little elections.
yeah.
And I was
Whatever.
surprised at the turnout that we had.
Oh,
That's
Fayetteville,
true.
yeah.
In Fayetteville for
Pretty
sure,
good-
but we
pretty
had
good
a
turnout
contested
for a
race.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought we had a really good turnout.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
But a lot of those smaller areas, there
Right.
was nobody.
Well, and if it's not a contested election in all these
Normally people
places,
won't come.
or, no- you know, they're running on the millage, but nothing's changing,
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't vote.
I would still vote, but yeah, I mean, you know. if it
I couldn't
doesn't
vote on
matter.
election day, so I didn't vote.
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
sure,
Mhm.
working,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and so Farmington, the way Farmington is set up, because it was just a millage, you had to early vote. You
Yeah.
couldn't vote on
Oh,
election day.
that's
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
So, I was like,
Some of these,
during early vote, I was busy.
Yeah, you were.
that's why some of these didn't get votes, you're right, yeah.
Oh, I just noticed the Prairie Grove millage went down.
Yeah, I don't think it changed
3 to 1.
anything.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, it probably didn't change anything,
No, exactly. But yeah, sure looks that way.
but that's the only one, I guess, that theoretically failed.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody voted for Salon.
That's a funny thing.
You don't have to make one big mistake every election.
Well, we've already got, June the 8th on the agenda. Does that work for you guys?
Yeah,
Because Jennifer said we needed to have a meeting that week for some other reasons, and I don't remember what they were, but let's go ahead and just keep it on the 8th, even though we don't need it for the budget discussion,
mm-hmm.
unless she discovers some amazing difference that we've got.
Right.
Yeah. And we've got something on the 13th of July. The night of the 13th.
Don't have that on my calendar.
Yeah, you need to put that, because that's an election night. That's for those fire districts.
Mhm.
How do you like the way this sausage is made?
I've seen worse.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah, I believe it. Probably even recently.
No, that's for the special election, so we'll have to
set a meeting before the 13th of July to work, well, she's got here budget review, poll worker notice we'll have to sign, and LNA will have to sign for the July 13th election. So that should probably be in June sometime. Maybe we can do that on June the 8th.
July the 13th, I had it for 9:30 a.m., that's not.
Oh, no, that would be in the evening, yeah.
That,
No problem.
The jury has returned.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, then, yeah, just that, can you bring that whole folder back, that certification, because it's got the Elkins stuff in it. All right, so, this is the certificate for the whole election.
Oh, okay.
And then I have specific certificates for Springdale and Elkins.
Ooh.
Here you go, Jim. And then, this is, so the first page is Washington County results. The second page includes the results from Benton and Washington County.
Oh, yeah.
For the Springdale School District. Since we're the domicile county, we have both certificates, thank you. And Kim sent over her certification yesterday for, the Benton County part. So I'll include, her certificate with ours as well. And then,
Sir.
With the sour hands, this deck.
and then this is the one for Elkins.
Oh.
And these were prepared by their attorneys. So that's why there's the separate little ones for Elkins and Springdale. They requested those.
Gotcha.
And then Becky will, this election, she has to send this information to the Department of Education, and then she'll notify all the winning candidates, that they come in for, their oath of office. She takes care of all of that.
Cool.
And that's why her signature, this is the only one that has her signature on the bottom of them, so that's why her signature's requested for some of those.
Schools, are real into themselves.
They are, yes. Okay.
We got that, notice of election for the July 13th.
So this will be for the city of Johnson and then for the two fire, departments that are having their elections. I've prepared two different notices, one just for the city of Johnson, because I feel like they will want their own, notice. But for the Boston Mountain and Sunset Fire Department, I just prepared one notice, since those both came from the Corn Court. The polling locations would be the Assembly of God Church in Winslow, which is what we used for the general election, and then the Johnson Church of Christ, which is what we used for the general election for the city of Johnson. And they are both, able, to be open. I had originally wanted to move back to Johnson City Hall, but they have a city council meeting that night, and so, Johnson Church of Christ is willing to host it.
I don't think that's as convenient a location as the city hall, but that's my opinion.
With
The city hall one, 'cause
So the one thing I like about the city hall is that we don't have to separate, but for the Johnson Church of Christ, I had to do two entrances, one for handicap and one for regular, or for the other voters, and so we really need a
new location in Johnson. I don't know where that is.
They're building things.
So maybe by
Progress is
next year,
taking
we'll have
place.
something.
Yeah.
And I got mixed feelings about the Assembly of God Church for Winslow. Some people really loved it, and some people wanted to be back at the fire department. I didn't feel like it was appropriate to be at the fire department for this election, since we're holding an election for the fire department.
Yeah.
But the cell service at the fire department is horrible,
Oh.
and it was better at the church. So I got mixed feelings from Winslow about the location, so. And that includes the poll workers too, so they had, half of them liked one place over the other, so that'll be something for us to look at.
Yeah.
And we'll meet at 7 o'clock election night here in room 115.
Oh, okay.
To canvass any absentee ballots and early vote.
Yeah. Okay, and, while you were gone, we talked about, we talked about the upcoming meetings, and we said on the budget review, poll worker notice, et cetera, we could do that on June the 8th, right?
We could.
Since we've already scheduled that meeting.
But we would need to meet.
Again after that?
No, we would need to be done by 10.
Oh, okay.
Since we have that, training class.
Oh, that's.
But this would be a pretty
Yeah.
easy meeting. I
Yeah.
mean, there's not a
Because
lot.
we've already talked budget
Right.
and approved it,
So
so that's not on the report. I mean, that's not on the agenda.
So at 9:30, were you thinking?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm. And then you've got finance meetings as point B, and we don't really need
We don't
that.
know. Well, no,
Oh, you're talking about.
eventually, we will have to go before the quorum
Gotcha.
court to present our budget.
That's not,
I
is
don't
that gonna
know.
be anytime soon?
So I think that if we have to turn our budget in June, it won't go on to the schedule until July,
Oh.
but they may break it out
Mhm.
into multiple meetings just because
Okay.
there's so many departments.
Yeah. So it could go as late as August, September?
It could, yeah. And at some point, I think it will be a separate meeting for our voting equipment. But see,
I was
that's,
gonna ask you about
so the
that.
voting equipment I have not included in our 2022 budget, because we really want it in 2021. And I've already given the paperwork over to JP Deacons for it, so I feel like it's a separate budget request
I agree.
for 2021.
Mhm.
The other thing that is not included in this budget that he talked about doing separately were raises. I always feel like if the county does a 3% raise, then we should come back and just match. So we'll kind of wait
Did you
and see.
express that to JP Deacon?
If
You
I
might
talk
wanna,
about the raises.
I mean, his letter indicated that, if I recall correctly, that they wanted to discourage increases or something.
No,
No, it was new employees.
new employees, but also if you were asking for a specific raise, for like instance, if you had someone in your department that needed a specific raise, that needed to be a different request, but
Oh,
because
yeah.
we're part-time,
Right, it's different.
we don't have to ask for specific requests. But if they end up doing a 3% countywide raise for all employees, we would need to come back and ask for that for our staff. So I didn't include that in this budget either.
Okay, all right, so he hasn't really given you any, specifics on, the poll books, when that might be.
He said this
Address.
summer,
Oh,
so is summer
June,
June,
yeah,
July, August?
June
I don't know.
21st? Are we talking specifically?
After Memorial Day, right?
Yeah, well, that's true, Memorial Day
Official
pretty much
start.
is the
Official
kickoff.
Start.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, all right, well,
Oh, man.
hopefully we'll
maybe if you don't hear from him in a couple weeks, you might follow up with an email.
Yeah.
If you got any info on it, and see what he has to say. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, other business? Other business? We are adjourned.
All right,
Happy
I'm off
Friday,
to,
yes.
get some people on the phone. You guys have a good Memorial Day weekend.
You too. All right, well, doesn't feel like a Memorial